In today's video, our discussion will be on a poem written by Robert Burns, and the poem title is A Bird's Epitaph. Before going on to the poetic discussion, let's try to know about the meaning of bird. Bird, I think this is a very general word, and you must have used and heard this thing. Bird is generally it is a poet, especially one who writes impassioned, lyrical, or epic verse. And birds were originally Celtic composers of eulogy and satire, and this word came to mean more generally a tribal poet singer gifted in composing and reciting verses on heroes and their deeds. Got it? Clear? Now we have to know what is epitaph. This is to a very general word you must have heard somewhere. Uh, Epitaph, this is a phrase or form of words written in memory of a person who has died, and especially as an inscription on a tombstone, right? I can give you an example here. So this is a photo you are uh, seeing. This photo is an example of epitaph. Correct? Okay. Now let's discuss the poem in a broad way. About epitaph, this was written by a Scottish poet, Robert Byrne, and this poem was composed 10 years before the poet's original death in 1796. And through this epitaph, the poet has tried to present a sketch of his life. Moreover, this is also an example how the poet sees the life, and how the poet um, had uh, plans for life, and how life was uh, lived by the poet, or what is the meaning of life according to poet. Got it? And throughout the poem, the writer or the poet has uh, used Scottish dialect along with English, and he has also delineated some elements of Scottish culture through his poetry. And as we all know, as he belonged to Scotland, and as he is considered as being a representative poet of Scotland, his epitaph is uh, obviously touch these aspects. And uh, through this poem, the poet has tried to give a moral message to the readers that that one must guide by some kind of intuition, or some kind of meaning uh, in life, to do certain things with life, or the or our life is as meaningless as stone, like that. Okay. Okay, now this I have already told you. So before moving on to the poem, I would like to give you little insight on the poet. About the poet, Robert Byrne was born on 25 January 1759, and he was died on 21 July 1796. And he was a Scottish poet and lyricist that we all know, and he is widely regarded as the national poet of Scotland, and is celebrated worldwide. And he is best known for his poems like um, Red Red Rose and the Battle of a Red Rose and To a Mouse, a Phone Kiss to a Louse, the Battle of Saramur, Tomo Center. These are the poems written by the poet, and he is known for his pre-romantic uh, mm, elements in his poetry. And as I have already talked to you that this poem was written before his death in 17 here I have forgotten, yes, in 1796, and uh, it was published in 1786. Got it? This is the poetic line. We will discuss this later. But let's read these lines to understand the concept of the poem. A bird's epitaph, this is the first stanza. Is there a whim inspired fool, or a fast for thought, or a hot for rule? Ore, glad to seek, ore, proud to snool. Ore, this is taken from Scottish language, and the pronunciation may not be absolutely correct, and I'm so sorry for that. Let him draw near, and ore, this grassy heap sing dull, and drap a tear. The second stanza. Is there a bird of rustic song who noteless steals the crowds among that weekly this area throng? Oh, pass not by, but with a freighter feeling strong, here heave a sigh. This is the second stanza. Let's go to the third stanza. Is there a man whose judgment clear can others teach the course to steer, yet runs himself life's mad career, while as the wave here pause and through the starting tear survey the grave. The poor inhabitant below was quick to learn, the wise to know, and keenly felt the friendly glow and sulphur flame. But thoughtless follies laid him low, and standing his name stained his name. Reader, attend whether thy soul soars fancy's flight beyond the pole, or darkling gropes this earthly hole in low pursuit. I know prudent, cautious self-control is wisdom's foot. Okay, so this was the poem, the poetic lines. Now we will analyze the stanzas of the poem. Got it? Okay, let's read. Ebert's epitaph. It was means through this poet, the poet through this poem, the poet depicts and talks about his own imaginary grave, and it draws the attention of the people uh, of his time, and how people have behaved with him, and what he anticipates after his death, and what kind of things should be written on his epitaph. This kind of thing are they discussed by the poet. And in the first stanza, the poet metaphorically calls himself a whim inspired fool, and it means that the fanciful thoughts of the poet. Moreover, he says he was too fast to think and too hot headed to accept rules. For his shyness, he restrained himself from seeking, and his pride blocked his mind from stooping to someone for insight. Thereafter, the poet requests the readers to come near to his grave and think about his poetic contributions. But Burns thinks that his death might cause one to drop a tear. However, the mood of the last line becomes emotional in comparison to that of his first line. And in stanza two, a bird's epitaph. The poet highlights the quality of the poet's compositions and how his countrymen feel about him. Burns was popular for his rustic poetry that has the essence of rural Scotland. Moreover, the poet says his grave steals the crowds from the other poet's grave, and the crowd throngs around his grave weekly. By using a lithode, the poet says they don't pass by, rather, people feel sad about the loss of one of their brothers. With a strong brotherly feeling, they heave a sigh to think about the dead poet. And in the stanza 3, the poet says that uh, the poet actually refers to a specific man standing among the crowd. He appears to be wide and judgmental. The poet thinks that he can teach others how to live life wisely, but he is also busy in his career like the poet, and his professional life controls him like a boat floating on the wild sea. The person is as restless as the poet was in his life. Such a person can understand the poet's state of mind better. That's why he surveys the grave and tear trickles down. And in the fourth stanza of the poem, the poet Robert Burns anticipates that what might have tarnished the poet's name. According to Burns, he was quick to learn something new and he was wise. Moreover, the poet says once he had many friends and felt the sulfur flame of friendship and brotherhood, the feeling of uh, uh, camaraderie is like a flame that ignites one's soul, unlike the flames of passion, but burn the heart. At last, the poet says the thoughtless follies stain his name. He doesn't shy away from accepting his flaws. And in the stanza 5 and the last stanza of the poem, the poet Robert Burns used an apostrophe, alerts the readers that those who soar in fanciful thoughts, leaping over the limits, he should be very careful, and those should be very careful. And he refers to those who pursue lowly dreams. The poet advises them to know the value of prudence, awareness, and self-control, and these three qualities form the foundation of wise person. So throughout the poem, the poet has tried to depict his philosophy, his perspective, his opinions about his life, and how he has created poetry, and how he was regarded, considered, and respected by the reader of his time, and how his neighbor people, or how his own countrymen, or how the English people treat his poem. That all kind of thing he has tried to depict through the poem. Got it? That's it. Thank you so much for watching the video.